Item guide starting now. Welcome to the item guide. So I'm Hilo EOS Challenger Ornn OTP. Everything I say is law and should be followed through no matter what. Anyone who disagrees with me is wrong. I will refuse to elaborate why, but they're wrong. I'm the best. So in general, with Ornn starting items, they're pretty adaptive, but one of the most built items is frostfire, because this item is very good utility and it has a lot of stats. It gives 450 HP, 25 armor, 25 MR, and when it's upgraded, it makes you extremely tanky. And for every legendary you get bigger, you get stronger and tankier. And it applies this tiny ice circle. And this is really useful in team fights because it allows to slow people, you can peel away, and it's just a really nice into like 80% of the matchups. The only time you'd ever build sunfire over frostfire is when people have like an Aatrox, Viego, like champions that heal a lot and that stick to people a lot, so that you could stack your sunfire like a Silas. Basically any drain tank in the game, sunfire is gonna perform better. Like, but still, a frostfire can work into healing champs, but sunfire is more aggressive approach. My usual rule of thumb, if they have 3 or more melees, I will go sunfire, and if they have a lot of mobile champs, I will go frostfire. Like, these are the only 2 mythic options. There used to be more before durability patch, because you could go Evan Shroud and lock it, but tank items got buffed from 350 to 450 HP, so you can't go them anymore, which kind of sucks because it cut down on the variety for Ornn a lot, and I like to go and lock it, especially into assassin comps. But now, like, frostfire is just so powerful that you'd never actually want to skip it because it gives too many stats. Like, let me level up to level 13. It gives 600 HP. That's a lot for one item. 600 HP, and the 100 HP on every legendary is really strong. And the top legendaries I'd probably rate for Ornn would probably be Force of Nature, Frozen Heart, Randuin's, and Thornmail. Frozen Heart is really good into comps that stack a lot of attack speed, like a Yasuo, lethal tempo users, and it has a pretty wide range and Ornn can apply it in most fights because he's gonna, Q, he's gonna E in, and most of the fights he will spread it around. Like, look at this, the whole area is frozen hearted, and the attack speed slow is really nice. And what people don't actually know about Frozen Heart is it has a better rock solid passive than Randuin's. Because if you look at Randuin's, you will see that it has 16 HP, and Frozen Heart has 18 HP. It is +2 damage more reduced. I don't know why it's like this, because it attacks by up to 7 plus 0.35% of your HP, and Randuin's is +5 plus 0.35 of your HP. So that is really weird why Riot did that. These items should be the same power level, which they kind of are, but you would go Randuin's into comps they use spells more than they would use attacks. So like Kiana's, Assassin, Talon, people, Bruisers. The only time you go Frozen Heart is into champs that actually require attacking a lot mid fights. But for champs that are reliant on spells, you would go Randuin's. And if you're fighting, like, let's say you're fighting a comp that's very AP heavy, you go always Force of Nature first. This item is extremely broken. It stacks. People also refuse to, like, read, which I don't know why they refuse to do it, but you get 2 stacks on immobilizations when people immobilize you. And as a tank, you're gonna be frontlining. So it's not always like, oh, they only have 1 AP, Force of Nature won't stack fast. It will, because let's say you're fighting like a champion, like, I don't know, Syndra. She QWs and E's you. The E counts once and twice. because it will count as an immobilize for 2 stacks and a stun for and magic damage for the other stack. So you'll have 3 stacks. And if an AD champion like Riven can proc Force of Nature with no AP, because she will Q, W you, and then she will Q you again. She will knock you up, stun you, she will do another knock up or a stun because she has fucking extremely low cooldowns. Which is, people just refuse to read. Force of Nature is extremely broken. This is the most broken item that was released. Like, I would assume every mage player hates this, because people just don't take damage. Like, if an Udyr takes Force of Nature and they're mostly AP, Udyr is never gonna die. Abyssal is also a really nice item. It is situational. Wait, let me turn these minions off. It reduces magic resist by 25, but that's capped. It scales for the more health you have, and it basically acts as a magic pen item for tanks, because it helps the team. And this was built into situations where you have a lot of AP and the enemy team does not have like too much AP threats for you to consider Force of Nature, because you do get magic resist for every stack you get as well. So let's say you're in a fight, right? And right now I have 289 MR, and if I move away I have 248. So that is 40 MR just for fighting. So that would be like almost the same as Force of Nature, but Force of Nature gets the 25% magic resist, which is, you know, it doesn't even come close. But again, Abyssal Mask is not a bad item. It's just situational. If they have AP comps like 4 AP and 1 AD, your build would kind of look like this, because you want to anathema the 1 AD person so that won't take too much damage, and then you would build Abyssal Mask. Because again, building tanks is all about building the most optimal way, so it wouldn't fuck up your build path. But with this build path, you would have low armor, so maybe instead of Force of Nature, you would get like a gargoyle. But no, if they have 4 AP, like Force of Nature is way too broken. Your finishing item should be gargoyle, or you could sit on an Aegis just for the armor and MR. I do this a lot, where I just sit on an Aegis, because for Ornn it provides a lot of stats, because he likes ability haste and he also likes resistances, because they got added up so much by his passive. Like, he really likes resistances. Like, people build LDRs, voice staffs, Shadow Flame, people build Divine, people build Black Cleaver. Like, you need resistances because people will shred through you. And Fimbulwinter is an item which I really dislike, especially in Ornn, because this item would only be good for bad Ornns that have poor management of their mana. Like, you won't need a tier early. Like, the only matchup I would ever consider going tier in is Poppy, because Poppy is a tank that does more damage than you. She bullies your E, your ult dash, she denies it, and it's a boring matchup which Ornn can kill. He cannot kill, he only farms, which is the only time I'd consider Winter's approach, because Winter's approach is made for lanes which are like boring as fuck, but Ornn can get a lead in pretty much all lanes because of how his trading works and how his passive works, because it's extremely broken. Because Dota mechanics, I can build items in lane, and with that mechanic you can just stat check most people. I would also, Thornmail is not a bad item. It's Bramblevest that's the problem. Bramblevest is extremely bad, but Thornmail is extremely good because it scales by 20% of your armor. And Ornn, when he builds a lot of armor, this thing will start doing a lot of damage. Like, it's not even a heal cut at this point. Thornmail is a damage item for tanks that happens to heal cut. Like, you'd build this, like, you're still gonna build it into healing champs because you need it, but you just need to get some, you just need to get out of the Bramblevest, because the build path is really bad, but the item is good. So when you're building Thornmail, you want to stop fighting. Like, let's say if you're fighting an Aatrox, you have Sunfire and Bramble, that won't be enough. It used to be enough sunfire and bramble because it would be 40% heal cut, but now it's kind of a scuff situation because bramble vest is kind of bad and it's just very mediocre. But as a damage item, it's really good. So this is what the build pass would look like. Like if you're fighting an AD heavy team that's mobile, you go like tabbies, frostfire, frozen heart. Like let's say they have a Jinx, a Yasuo, they have a top lane like I don't know, Darius. You would go for this route. You would go like Anathema, Tabby, Frostfire, Frozen Heart, Thornmail, and then Gargoyle just to finish it off. Because you get a lot of HP from Anathema, a lot of HP from Frostfire, and you get a lot of armor from these two. And Frostfire gives you a lot of health. And then for I haven't fought as many comps that are sticky that would be worthy of Sunfire, but they happen like 20% of my games. But in low reload, it will happen more. So you would build I feel like in low reloads, I would build like 60 to 40 with Frostfire and Sunfire, but in high elo it's more like an 80 to 20 because I am behind most of the time, and Frostfire is a really nice failsafe for tanks because it just there's nothing wrong with this item. It's perfect. I would like this item to be buffed and Sunfire to be buffed as well, either like because tanks with Sunfire in high elo at least it never works. I've always I mean it works, but like Frostfire is always a better choice for me. I would really like for either them to be the same power level or Sunfire to be cheaper or something, but Riot doesn't like tanks and we're being nerfed in 12.14 as well with second wind and laning nerfs and whatever the fuck they're throwing at us. But it's fine. We'll maintain Halo. And if people have like a mixed team, I would go Gargoyle second. Like if they have a lot of, if they have 2 AP, like let's say they have an AP jungler, an AP mid, they're fighting an AD top and AD bot, like let's say it's a Pike Jinx, and you're fighting like an, I don't know, literally any AD top laner, I would consider Gargoyle because you'd want to be able to fight all of them and not be weak. And this would work because it give you armor MR, give you the shield, and you get the HP from Frostfire. So it'd be like kind of completed build. And then you build like whoever's most fed. You always want to build towards the guy that's fed and the guy that's your threat. So yeah, this is what you would build in mixed teams. If you're fighting like an assassin comp, you would, again, itemization for tanks is just playing to your team and just making sure they have an easy of a task with dealing the enemy team as possible. So you go Frostfire, then you go Randuin's. Randuin's reduces their attack damage by 10%, which against assassins, it could be the mean between life and death, right? They lower their AD by 10%. Who knows? Maybe your AD carry doesn't get one shot. Then you could build Knight's Vow, you could build Redemption. And these are very cheap items which activate your legendary passive from Frostfire, which is why these are so good. Because when you build these on Ornn, you can actually be kind of tankier because this would be 300 health and this would be 500. So it's not bad. And they're very cheap. You can get also an Anathema for any random mage that's maybe a threat, but into assassin comps, this is what your build should look like. Most of the time, my builds, people have a lot of healing, so I'll end up building like this, and this. So I have Frozen Art, Force of Nature, Thornmail, and this build, when you get to this point, you're gonna be extremely tanky, and you're just gonna murder people. So these are the main items that you should build. The difference between Frozen Heart and Randuin's is just whether or not they have people that use spells more or people that use autos more. If they use autos more, then Frozen Heart it is. If they use spells, then go Randuin's. And if they have, let's say, if they have Jin Graves, Frozen Heart, you would think it would reduce their attack damage or reload time, because Jin converts his attack speed to AD. And you would think that Frozen Heart, in theory, if he reduces it attack speed, reduces AD instead, but no. The interaction doesn't work, so you just go Randuin's. In champions that just rely on spells and or auto times that are fixed, Randuin's is always the better call. even if Frozen Heart has the 2 damage from the rock solid extra, it still doesn't amount to Randuin's just having HP. Like Randuin's is more of a stat item than Frozen Heart for Ornn, because it gives HP. Frozen Heart doesn't. Like it just, you only build Frozen Heart for the broken passive. But I would think that Riot did a good call by buffing Randuin's by 10 armor. So they're actually more like in a balanced state than than it was before. But yeah, these are the only items that you should be building. Also, for boot items, you can also have more options than just mercs and tabbies. You can also go Swifties. Swifties are really nice in Ornn. They make your fat body a little faster. You can dodge skill shot, sidestep, and I like building this when they have a lot of slows, like on a Nivea or a Sion or any top laner that relies on slows too much. Into Gwen, it's really nice because you can outrun her ult and outmaneuver her. Like into Gwen, my build path would generally look like this. You get Force of Nature and Boots of Swifties, and every time Gwen would Q, you'd basically get so fast that she wouldn't even slow you, and you would be like zooming all around the map. So Swifties is not bad on Ornn. You'd build tabbies if they have. You only build boots for the passive. Like even if they have, like let's say, if they have a lot of AD but they have a lot of CC, you would start taking tenacity and runes, so you could build tabbies. Like you'd always want to adapt to the enemy team. Like if they have a lot of CC and you have, and they're AD, like 4 AD, and those comps are rare, you take like unflinching, and then you take precision secondary with tenacity and presence of mind. So then you'd always be able to stack full AD and always have tenacity. Like it's always about adapting to the enemy team. But this is what the build should look like. There are niche situations for other items. I mean, Warmogs into poke comps, it's not the greatest item in the world. Zeke's, I don't really build it that often. Spirit Visage, you'd only build into, maybe if you have a Yuumi, you can go Spirit Visage. Ornn Yuumi is a really fun combo, which can work if you put Visage in it, but the rest of these 3 items you would never build. Like Turbo Chem Tank is only good for Ornn jungle, and Locket would only be good for Ornn support, because after the buffs to these tank mythics, like I feel like they just became so much more like, attractive to me than the Locket. Like even though they're cheaper, they still, like, it's 250 more HP. Like you can't ignore it. Deadman's is shit. Starax is shit. Fimbulwinter only into Poppy. Zeke's maybe if you have a high, if you even need more peeling, but usually you need defensive peeling for Ornn, not offensive peeling. Like I feel like Knight's Vow and Redemption are much more attractive than just getting Zeke's and a Knight's Vow. Then like you wouldn't need armor, you would just need for the carry to survive. And as for epic items, like you don't always want this. Also, Crystal Embracer, like if you're gonna build the Knight's Vow route, you're gonna go Kindle Gem first, because this item is now dog shit, because Rejuve Beads got nerfed, because you could start 3 Rejuve Beads with 150 gold, so that's bad now. Yeah, Riot really killed a lot of variety when they buff tank items. I really wish they would buff support items, but support is a broken role, so I guess they don't. But most of the time we're going to be building Frostfire. If they have 3, or I would say 4 actually, 4 melees. Like 3 sometimes isn't even enough, because as Ornn, like you're going to be behind a lot, so sometimes you're not going to have damage. But if you are ahead, you can consider Sunfire. If they have 3 melees, at least I can stick to you. Because if they have 3 melees, but those melees are assassins that like a Rek'Sai would like crawl around, or a Kiana will move around, like the only melees I count are bruiser melees that are low mobility. So that's the only time you'd actually, go for this Sunfire, Thornmail route. Because Frostfire is just so good. It's just such a good item. Gargoyle, again, good into mixed comps. So these are what your Ornn builds should look like. Or maybe like this. No, no, that's bad. So yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I just clarified on what you should actually build and what you shouldn't. Please do not go Fimbulwinter unless it's Poppy. We hate Poppy and Fiora, but Fiora's banned. So bye bye, bye bye. See you later or not. Goodbye.